Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. In our first story, apartment complex wanted to cheat our OP. We'll see how that turned out. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Apartment complex rented my apartment while I still had an active lease. Arkansas has well-known laws that lean heavily on the side of the property owner, which leaves the renter pretty vulnerable to owners who want to be difficult, to say the least. Or at least they did when I lived there. I doubt much has changed since. So I moved into town and find a 2-and-2 apartment, intending for it to be a short period of time while I scout the town and look for a more permanent place. As for paying rent, they wouldn't/couldn't take an automatic monthly check from my bank or charge my debit card monthly. It had to be a paper check from me, with a 4-day late fee window. I hate writing checks and had the cash, so I paid out the 12-month lease all at once. I find a great place about 6 months later, thinking I'll just break my lease and pay the extra 1-month penalty and walk away from my apartment. I call and let them know that I'll be moving out. Long conversation short, the way the lease is written makes you think that's how it works when, in reality, at a second or third read, I'm still liable for the entire 12-month lease, and to break the lease essentially adds a 13th month worth of rent money. Knowing that up front, why anybody would break a lease is beyond me. So at this point, I've already made the deposits on my new place when all this comes to light, so I'm stuck with 2 places. I tell the apartment complex I won't be moving out, figure I'll just go ahead and let the lease run out, set the AC to 80, and open the breakers to keep costs low. I slowly move my stuff to my new place since I have plenty of time now, and in the end I leave behind my ironing board and iron just to leave something, and I never really use them anyway. About 2 months later, I get a call from the power company asking if it's okay to transfer power into somebody else's name. Shocked, I reply, "Absolutely not," while laughing a little on the inside. I decide to give it a day before I call the apartment complex. First thing the next morning, I get a call from the apartment complex, and with a super snarky entitled tone, I hear, "We need you to drop the power from your name so the new tenant can take over and move in." I explain that I still have an active lease on the place and can't fathom why they'd rent it out. She accuses me of abandonment, and therefore she's allowed to rent the apartment. My reply went along the lines of, "I rent the apartment with the sole intent of having somewhere to iron my clothes. Did you not see my iron and ironing board there?" She said she did, and she took it to the office to get it out of the apartment. We go back and forth on the semantics for a little. I let her know that I'm open to receiving a refund to the date on the new tenant's lease, and at that time I'd be happy to drop my name from the power. She refused, and the call ended with getting her boss's number from corporate. After mentioning to her boss that I can recognize a breach of contract when I see it, and that nowhere in the lease does it say I actually have to live there, not to mention her employee admitted to entering my apartment and stealing items of mine from inside. She quickly assured me they're putting a check in the mail that day, refunding my money to the first of that month, and told me I could go to the office to pick up my iron and ironing board anytime. Yes, I know I could have run up the power bill, but they'd only be able to do so much, really, and a few days isn't that huge. And they didn't do it anyways. Even if they had, it'd still be worth the expense considering the refund. And our next story. Exotic car dealership wanted 60-foot mural in exchange for exposure. As a working artist for almost 25 years now, I have a million stories like the ones I see here. Unfortunately, a lot of them happened back before texting was a main form of communication. Anyway, one of my favorites is when I was contacted about doing a mural. At the time, I'd been doing full-room murals for businesses on the side while running my custom motorcycle paint shop during the day. A Harley-Davidson dealer gave my number to a new exotic car dealership that was about to open its doors. They sold nothing but Ferraris, Lambos, Porsches, Audis, etc., all expensive and high-end stuff. So the co-owner calls me and introduces himself and tells me about their business, which we'll call Douche Motors. Him: "We're looking to have a mural painted in our waiting area." Me: "Okay, what are you looking to have done and how big?" Him: "The wall's 60 feet long and 8 feet high. We want a realistic Lamborghini to span the entire length with the Douche Motors logo. So it'd have to be 55 feet by whatever height." Me: "Okay, is the wall prepped?" Him: "What does that mean?" Me. Free of holes, damaged, primed, based, ready for art? Him. No, it's an ugly color right now that needs to be changed and has some damage. But you should see the $10,000 Italian leather couches we bought and all the huge TVs everywhere. Not sure why he included this info. Me. Okay, so if you have me prep the wall, it's going to add to the cost. For what you're looking for in that size, full realism, the logo, the prep work materials, without looking at it, I'd say it'll run about $4,500. Him. Long pause. Well, see, we weren't looking to spend that much. We just spent about $10K on all these Italian leather couches and TVs to put in there. We talked to a guy who said they could make a vinyl printout of the picture we want to stick on the wall, and we were hoping you could do the mural for that price. How much is the vinyl printout? $160. There's just no way. I'd charge you that just to prep the wall before I even started doing the art. Him. But all our Douche Motors customers own expensive cars, and you could sign the mural and they'd see it and they'd probably have you do work for them. It'd be great exposure. Did I mention how we spent $10K on Italian leather couches and big screen TVs? Your art would look awesome next to them. Me. I don't need exposure. I have plenty of work, and I've never received a referral from someone I made a deal with. There's no way I'm working for a week on a mural that size for $160. There's no way you'll find someone who will. Buy the vinyl decal. We ended our conversation, and a few hours later, his business partner called me with the same pitch, acting aggressive, again bragging about their $10,000 Italian leather couches and big screen TVs, this time telling me what a mistake I was making because of how much exposure I was going to miss out on. I think the dealership lasted 2 seasons and was gone. I still sometimes cry at night about all the exposure I missed out on by not doing that mural. Edit. Another example would be mid-2000s when Orange County Choppers was all the rage and everybody and his brother were opening chopper shops and wanting to be the next Jesse James. I'd get guys bringing me their custom bikes where they'd brag endlessly about how much they spent on their chromed-out motor and CNC custom wheels. Then came time for a quote to paint their terribly welded bike with full artwork, $2,500 to $5,000 depending on certain factors, and they'd act like I wanted to sacrifice their firstborn child. Well, I go to a lot of shows and have a lot of friends that will see it. So-and-so will do it for $1,500. Ignoring the fact that they were meeting me at a show where bikes I'd painted were on display behind them. Then they get insulted and tell you you aren't worth that much before a final round of, I know a lot of people. I won't get started on when street glides and road glides became a thing with their 20 separate pieces to paint, /airbrush, /clear coat. And our last story. Make me lose my job? Okay. I feel bad, but at the same time, so good. Anyway, I used to work at a cafe. It was a difficult time in my life, and it was a job I needed. Anyway, this woman, we'll call B, wanted a job for her son. Unfortunately, I had the job. Luckily for B, her best friend was the manager, not owner, so he couldn't fire me. So they both started making my job very difficult and would leave false reviews about how terrible I was and show I needed to be fired. I knew it was her because she can't spell. She even pushed me over once and screamed at me to use the till on a customer waiting. She was an idiot who didn't realize the till could only be used at once. They'd also mess up my orders on purpose to make me look like a fool. Anyway, eventually the owner had to step in and believe all the customer reports, etc., and I lost my job. Which sucked, because at the time I needed it. For a while, I ended up sleeping rough and in friends' houses. The good thing is her horrible son got the job and quit less than 2 weeks later because he didn't like it. So times were tough for me. Eventually, I found a job working in a fast food place, and over a few short months, managed to make management. Then one day, I saw B wander in and hand in a resume. Of course, I listened in to what she was saying to the other manager. She was about to be made homeless. She was desperate for a job, and this was her last hope. She was on the verge of tears. The other manager told her to fill in the online form, and if she's successful, she'll be given a 2-week trial. She got her 2-week trial, and I was careful to not wear my manager's badge when she was on shift. I lost it. In fact, when I was just showing her how to use the deep fat fryers, I was super nice to her, even though she was rude. Just because you're double my age doesn't mean you're better than me, champ. Anyway, today, the other 2 managers and myself all had a meeting to see if she could further her position and stay with us. Oh, the look on her face was priceless when she finally clocked into the fact that I was a manager. I flat out said, I don't feel she meshed well with the team. She appeared rude and confrontational towards customers and condescending toward other staff whom she thought in a lower position than herself, and that goes against all of our policies. And I'd never turned anyone down before. We get lots of backpackers and students. I like giving people jobs, not just her. In the end, it was a no because I didn't want her on the team. Oh, how she cried and cried, telling us how she was going to be homeless and not eat food, etc. I told her to go to a government assistance place where she said she was trying. Then she kept crying about how it's a small town and almost everywhere has rejected her for other people and how she simply can't find a job. And as heartless as I feel about all this, I also feel fantastic. Dear B, you didn't give a crap when you made me homeless and desperate, so what made you think I'd give a crap when I did the same to you? Karma sucks, doesn't it? I'm usually a very nice person, I swear, but this woman caused huge issues. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.